Okay, I think I've started it correctly. Have I started it? Let me just double check here. Okay, yeah, we've started. All right, so first, I just want to go over, or I'm going to open your copy of the database that you sent me. We're just going to find out if you finished the work. I know I already looked at this a little bit, but I didn't look at it that closely, so I'm just going to verify. I think I said you have to have 100 students, right? So let's see if you got 100 students. You have 100 students, fantastic. And I already explained to you, right, why, even though you have 100, you're on number 102?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you understand that. Well, just in case you forget, I'm just going to tell you again for the purposes of you having this as a reference. Whenever you delete records, it doesn't reuse those numbers. So like if I delete number 75 here, it's just gone. Like there is a way to like make another record 75, but it's just easier to think about it as it just is going to keep adding it to the end. And that'll make it easier too, because if you like think to yourself, oh, I always use like record number 100 when I'm like, doing my tests or when I need to see a particular student, and then like you go delete that and re-add another 100, well then that's going to be really confusing because you're going to suddenly see different data. Or if like some student knows their ID is number 100, why would you reuse 100 even if that student is gone? It's like you always want to you want things to be totally unique when you're dealing with IDs. So that's the reason we try not to reuse that.
When you're dealing with what? I didn't hear that part.
IDs.
Oh yeah,
Remember,
yeah.
IDs are the key to everything, key to getting around your database. And so, yeah, when you delete this record, for example, 92 is gone. You could make it come back with a different ID, I mean, a different student, but like just don't reuse IDs. Just keep adding them to the end. They never run out. It's going to be easier for you in the long run. All right, so classes. I asked for 40 classes. 39. Okay, good enough. 20 professors. You have exactly 20. Man, you're just doing it right to the requirement. You could do more. It says at
I know.
least.
I was just trying to get it done in time, but as I was doing it,
Uh,
I realized that it would look a lot better the more I had of each.
yeah.
You
But
know,
you were very thorough filling these out, so I do appreciate that. And you can change these, by the way, if you want to like go back and change any names or addresses or whatever it is you need to do. You can change these however you need to.
one
Um,
thing I should change
yes,
is I just realized a mistake.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
opposite.
noticed that too. Georgia is GA, and the city is Atlanta. I saw AT. I'm like, what is AT? But then the city is Georgia. Oh, it must mean Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. And yeah, you could have a school where the teachers are everywhere because remote is everything's remote right now, COVID
Yeah.
times. Okay, so 20 professors. Make sure every professor teaches at least one class. Let's see if you did that. Every professor. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Teaches at least one. Okay, so she's got a class. Just gonna run through all of them. And there's only 20, so we can very quickly go through all of them. Yeah, okay, cool. They all have a class. Fantastic. You are 4 for 4. There must be more classes than professors. Okay, yeah, that's already true. Although, because every professor must teach at least one class, that was going to be true anyway, so number 5 shouldn't really count. Make sure every class fits their specialty. Okay, so that's going to be a little different. Bio, math to math, cooking to cooking, history to history, language to language, math to math, PE. Communications isn't really PE, but that's okay. Totally fine.
Yeah, but sometimes like PE teachers like teach a random
Yeah, like
class sometimes,
electives.
so it's
This
not going to
guy's an
be
elective
always
teacher.
completely accurate.
Right. Cool. Yeah, totally fine. Your xenobiologist is only making 30,000. How sad. She's so smart and yet only $30,000. And she's a programmer and a xenobiologist, man. She's really getting ripped off here. Oh, let's just change this person to a literature. Actually, no, their specialty can be English because it's Western literature and Eastern literature. I would say literature is their specialty, though, not necessarily English. Which music? Oh, classics. Nice. Oh, your dance teacher also teaches Bible class. This is an atheist school, no Bible classes. I'm just kidding. Choir.
This
Person would be a music teacher, actually. Choir and band. Art. Philosophy and psych. Well, this person's a double specialty. Very cool. This person's a language specialist. Let's call them a linguistic specialist. We got another PE teacher, but he does auto shop. Okay, cool. And we got an ROTC instructor. All right. Cool. You definitely did that. Very good.
You see what I mean, though? How like it would look a lot better if I just added a lot more classes, like rather than.
Yeah, no, this is fine. This is totally fine. And I'm just looking through the data because remember what we discussed before. That I said, since you're putting in all this data yourself, you're becoming so familiar with it that when it's time to actually do the coding and the work and the forms and the queries, you kind of just understand this stuff because you're so familiar with the data. I'm not familiar with your data. So I'm also familiarizing myself just by looking through it. Make sure at least 30 students have classes. So basically this is your bridge table. I should have at least 30. And okay, you have a lot, fantastic. So you definitely met that requirement. Those students that have classes must have at least 2, but no more than 5. Okay, let's see if you did that. I can't go through all 100 students, but it looks like you have plenty of students that have plenty of classes. Geez, did you do all of them? My God. Okay, no, you didn't.
Yeah, that's a lot to do. This is 100 students.
This is fine. This is totally fine. You have plenty of students that have classes. Okay, well, there are a bunch that don't, but that's okay. Totally okay, because you have like at least 30 that do. So
I was at 30, so I think I have at least 30 that do.
I think you do. And this is, again, totally fine. So we have a good amount of data that's starting to pile up into this database. If you actually look here, you'll see that, and we have a good amount of forms. This database is very small. It's not even 1 megabyte. But as we do more and more, this is going to get larger and larger. But yeah, this is still a very good size. You're definitely starting to have a few things. So today I said we were going to do more complex querying, right? I don't remember exactly what we've done on querying so far. I think we just used the wizard so far. Right, I think when we did this, what professors have what students, and notice, before I continue, we didn't have this many records here last time. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I know, because we added a bunch of professors we added professors and classes and we bridged them.
Correct. And I was hoping you would notice.
And the students as well.
I was hoping you would notice that basically we didn't have to come back to this query to update anything. This query, a query is basically a question. This query is still being answered. So as you update the data and you come back to this query will, the results of this query, the answer to this question is going to be correct all the time. You don't have to come back here and reload and like do anything here. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, because all this is, remember, this isn't data. This is just a query. This is just an answer to your question about the data. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I remember last time what we did. Now I remember. We used a wizard to basically link these tables together. And then we put some info here. And then I was showing you that you could like put Smith, oops, not a first name, last name. We would put Smith. And then we could even like get really specific and answer the question about, like I showed you, filtering. So that was all querying with the wizard, which, you know, the wizard is great. You can do a lot of work there. But what I want you to learn how to do, because you've learned about forms, you've learned about tables, so you've done a little UI, you've done a little bit of database structuring. One of the third things, and also a very important thing I wanted you to learn about, and this is probably the hardest thing, is how to code. And so since you started off with UI and data, you're already going to be familiar with what I'm doing here. We're doing the exact same thing that we've already been doing, except this time, instead of doing it by clicking buttons and clicking on menus, we're going to be doing the exact same thing, except we're going to be doing it with code. So this is the homework stuff from last time. So we'll go to this new, basically, okay, so for today, I said we'll do the anatomy of a view and a query is what I was thinking, and then also setting up the last sub form we need for classes. I don't think we're actually going to get to this part 2, but I wanted to put a sub form in here so that you could just like take students in and out of classes like from here and take like and switch like what professor is teaching a particular class from right here. Wouldn't that be really cool? Right. So like
I'm sorry, what?
I want to be able to like go to like, for example, this woodshop class, right? And like see who the teacher is and be able to change it.
Oh yeah, you could do that.
Or I want to go to like, okay, African history right here. Okay. Well, I want to see who's all the students and like be able to add, because think about it, right? If you're a professor and you're like setting things up, you're going to want to be able to add students. Some students may say, hey, your class is full. Can you add me? This is where you would do it.
We need to make the form a lot bigger than.
Exactly. And so I was hoping in part 2, I could show you how I made the subforms so you could do that here. But I don't think we're going to have time for that today. We definitely don't have time for that today because I actually want today to be a little shorter. But we do need to do that, right? Because if you're like someone who's an administrator, like let's say you work in the office, you're going to come and do it here, right? Because you're just going to look from professor to professor because you're controlling what professors do. But if you are the professor, you're going to want to control things about your class, like what students are in it. So depending on who you are, when you use this database, you're going to want to do different things. So there's some more stuff, more functionality we need to add. But let's get to the meat of it. I've already wasted enough time. I'm like we're blowing through time here, and we haven't even done anything. So let's create a new query. Okay, so before we were using the wizard. We also use the design view. I'm just going to close this. We're not going to use any of this. We're going to go straight to the SQL. And I'm going to show you the basic anatomy of a query. Basically, what you need to do something like this, but with code. So I'm going to answer the exact same, or I wonder if I should answer this question, or should we answer a new question? Because there's a lot of questions we can answer. We have a lot of data. We can say, show me a list of the students and how many classes each student has. You can say, show me a list of classes and how many students are there per class. You can show me, or we can show, there's a lot of things we can show. But I think one of the most basic queries you can do is called a count. So every query, and so you might actually want to take notes on this, and you know what, I'll make them for you. So notes on basic query. Because I know I said advanced querying, but this is not going to be advanced querying. It's going to be basic querying still. It's just going to be querying with code. So basic querying with code. So there's a few things you need for every single query. You must have a select. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Every single query you ever write for the rest of your life is going to have select on the front. Okay. And you're also, technically that's all you need. Technically, you don't need anything else to make a query. You just need select. And so you can say select one. And then when I have to hit view, that's what comes out. Okay. And we can also say select instead of one, because that's a number. And we can instead use a string. Do you remember what a string is? String is just letters instead of numbers.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's just letters. It just means we're using letters, not numbers. When you're using numbers, you can just put like any number, and then I hit view, and then there's the number. But when you're using strings, and all you got is just, string is just a collection of letters. You have to use quotes. So I don't know if you can see that. The text is really small, and I don't think I can zoom in on that.
Is that two double left arrows?
Double quotes. It's two double quotes.
Oh, quotes. Okay.
Yep. So I'm just going to zoom in here, and then you can see what I wrote. You see that?
Okay.
It looks like that. I'm just going to put this to the side here. Put this to the side here. Okay. So here's what you can do. You can say, again, the basic thing you need to select. I showed you how to select a number. You can also select a word or a set of words. And I said, hello world. There it is, hello world. So technically, I just made a query with almost nothing. Now you may say to yourself, why would you want to do that? And to be honest, you're probably never going to want to just say select just one thing like that. You're going to want to, querying is more to answer questions about your data, not just make up whatever you want. So that's when the second part of querying comes into play, and that's the from. Okay, so yeah, you only need to select, but select by itself is not that useful. It just says, select is just saying, give me something. From is saying where it's coming from. So since I didn't say where it was coming from, it's just giving me like what I put right here. But so now we're going to say a from. And we have some professors. So you basically put a table. So from, and it'll be something like this. Table professors.
Oh, you gotta take away one of the F's because like it has to be.
Yep, it has to be exact. You're right.
Yeah.
And so you also need a from. And so I'm going to say from table professors. And you may say, and take a guess what this is going to show.
It says select. I don't think it's gonna show anything because we don't have anything from professors that say hello world.
Yeah, that's correct. We don't, but it actually is going to show us hello world. But this is not useful, right? So we need to specify. You can't just say where you're getting it from. You need to say what it is you want. So I'm saying, yes, I want it to come from table professors, but I need to tell it what I want. So the most basic thing you can ask for is everything. That's what that little asterisk means, or star if you're used to, dialing a telephone, asterisk, star, whatever. So now I'm going to bring this over and say select star, which means everything from table professors. Now what do you think will happen?
I'm just writing it down.
Oh, don't worry. You can just rewatch this video. I'm recording it.
Okay.
So
what
what
was
do
the
you think is
question?
going to happen? So I'm saying select, which is give me, star, which is everything, from table professors, which you already know all about this table. So what do you think it's going to give me?
It's going to give you all the information from table professors.
That's correct. Every single thing. And there it is. And you may say, wow, that's so useful, but I could have just clicked on table professors. That's right. You could have just clicked on table professors, but it gets more complicated. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the third component. So you only need select, but from tells you where to get things. And there's going to be something called a filter or a where clause. So you're also going to say where. And for now, I'm going to say, give me everybody who is a male teacher. Yeah, let's do that. That's easy. So the way we're going to say that is where the field gender is male. So the way we refer to this column is we have to say table professors dot gender equals double quotes because we're doing a string. Now, I'm going to put this into our SQL. And what do you think this is going to show?
Well, it says select everything.
Yes, give me everything.
Table professors.
Yes.
And then it says where table professors dot gender equals male.
Yes.
So
what do you think this is gonna get?
It's pretty much asking me. Or no, asking me. You're pretty much asking the database to give you all of the male professors.
That is absolutely correct. How many do you think there are?
I do not know. Maybe about 10 is my guess.
Probably. Yeah, there are 12. So you've got 12 male professors, and this is who they are. So you're following so far how this works?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now we're going to throw in something else. We're going to make the select a little bit more complicated. I actually don't care about where they live. I don't want this information. All I want to know is their first name, their last name, their specialty, and their gender. Yep, that's what I'll get. So now, do you remember what we need to do to refer to a specific field?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you remember what we need to do to refer to a specific field?
Quotes, right?
No, that's for strings.
Oh, okay. Period?
Yep, that's right. It's just a dot. The same way that we did it in the where clause when we want it to refer to this column. It's the same thing we're going to do when we say give me.
That's what you mean by field. Okay, I see.
Yes, a field and a column. When I say field, I mean column. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of words that I use that are interchangeable with other things. So for example, when I say forms, I'm also talking about UI. When I say tables, I'm also talking about data. When I say queries, I'm also talking about, this is also called a view. And it's all made up of records, also called rows, and columns, also called fields. So it depends on what kind of system you're working in. They'll use different names for these things. But as long as you kind of understand what each of these things mean, you won't have a problem. So don't hesitate to ask me the definition of what it is that I'm telling you, because I just kind of go back and forth between these words because I've done this for so long that obviously I know what they all mean. So yeah, please stop me if you want to know what any of these words mean.
Okay.
Right. So when I say how do we refer to a specific field, I'm talking about that specific column that we created. And you're right, it's a period, because you need to be specific. You need to say, even though we've already told it we're coming from this table, we need to say the table name and then the field we want. So I want first name, and then you separate that with a comma before you go to the next thing. Say professor's dot last name. I also want the last name. I also want, let me have their state. And I'm just going to copy paste. This will be way easier. So I want their gender. And let's just stop there. Oh, and I wanted their specialty, right? I think I wanted their specialty too. Specialty. Okay. I'm going to take this query. And there it is. What do you think this query is going to produce for us?
I can't see all of it.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you think this is going to look like once we do the output?
Let me think for a minute. So it's asking for the professor's first name, last name, state, gender, and specialty from table professors, but you only want the male professors that meet that criteria.
Correct. So now I'm going to hit view. Ooh, saying, see this right here? This is some kind of error. It's saying the error has something to do with table professor's state. So that means I made a mistake somewhere. Address state. That's what the field is, not state. So that's my mistake. So you'll see like little weird things happen if you've made a mistake. And I clearly made a mistake. So I'm going to correct that. And now hit view, and now it works. So being able to like see those little error messages and kind of figure out what's going wrong is actually an extremely important skill you're going to have to learn. So unfortunately, I can't like just teach you about that. You're just going to see these things pop up and just ask questions about how I know how to fix it.
Okay.
So in this case, I kind of explained how I fixed it. It showed me which field was having the issue, and I was able to go check like, hey, maybe I named that one wrong. And then I looked and I did name it wrong. It was address state. Anyway, this is what the query has shown us. It's the male teachers for the particular fields or columns that we've chosen. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So as you can see, these queries aren't super hard to read. You can understand them pretty easily, right?
I do have a question now.
Yes.
Why do you need to put from table professors? Doesn't it already know, because you put all of the stuff that you're selecting from table professors, doesn't it already know like that you want it from table professors? Why do you have to put from table professors in the query?
That's a good question. Whenever you're getting data from tables, you have to put what tables you're getting them from. Always. This is required. Now, what's not required is we could have also, I'm just going to make a separate space. We could have also done this. Once you've said where it's from, you don't need to constantly specify it like this. So if I run this, it's going to do the exact same thing. Watch. Same thing.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, it seems like it's a little excessive. Something is excessive here. I know. I'm just trying to analyze, like,
Yep, nope, you're absolutely right. We've already said where it's from. You actually don't need to put it on the front, but you are going to have to do that. I don't need to do it. You need to do it. And the reason you're going to do this is because you do not yet understand, because we haven't got to it yet, when it's appropriate to do it and when it's not appropriate to do it. You are right to notice that in this case, it's excessive, it's redundant, but it is not always redundant. I'll give you an example. Here's a query we already made that says, what professor has what students? And I'm going to open up the SQL code so you can see what this looks like. It's a lot more complex. And I'm going to take this apart for you. So let's make some new lines. And Access doesn't really, it kind of jumbles it all up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some nice, neat spaces so you can see it the way I usually type it. Let's just make this a little smaller. You see how neat this is and easy this is to read? I want to make their code look really neat and easy too. So I'm not changing how it works. I'm just moving it around so it's as easy to read as what I wrote. Okay.
Yeah.
Follow? Okay, good.
So you can still, like, when you're making queries, you can still put spaces and everything, and it will do the same thing.
That's right. In fact, we could even press like enter right here, and it's down on the next line, and it'll still work the same.
Okay.
And this is just how you space it out is just kind of like to make it easier for you to look at. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna space this one out. Look how long this is. It's so long. I'll put a space here. Put one here. Put one here. And they're also using a different format than what I like to use typically. I don't use all these parentheses. Well, I code SQL, so I actually don't need. Maybe you do need the parentheses. I don't use the semicolon on the end. You're actually supposed to, but I don't do it. Just hang tight. I'm going to change their query a little bit because I don't like the way this is working. You know what? Maybe I should just write this from scratch myself. I think I'll do that. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just write this from scratch. So I'm going to make a new query really quick. And then I'll explain what each thing means. Because this is going to be a very complicated query. I'm just warning you right now. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through what each part means. So don't you worry. So professors to classes, and then, yep, we'll need to join to classes. I'm going to make it way easier to, like, because the way they do it, here's the thing you got to understand. When I write queries, they look nice and neat like this. No one wrote this. The computer wrote this because we used a wizard, right? So even though it looks really nice and neat here, when the computer writes code, it just doesn't look good. So that's why I'm writing my own right now. And I can explain why it doesn't look that great later, but for now, just trust me, the computer does not write great looking code. Unfortunately. Take this, oops, students, this one, classes. Yep, this one here. This one. I'll take this is table classes. Students. I've made a mistake. We're gonna find out in a minute. I need this one. Table Classes professors. Okay, and then this one actually doesn't belong here. Okay, so we can get rid of all that. Oh, okay, I see. I left one out. 1, 2, okay. This is why I like to plan this stuff out ahead of time. Okay. How many tables? We're missing a table. 1, 2, 3, 4. Students, that's who we're missing. There we go. And then this one actually belongs here. And this, where's this one go? Classes, class, professors, professor ID. Okay, so this one actually belongs here. This one belongs here. And this one belongs here. Okay, yeah, I had that all mixed up. And then let's just drop that in here. Actually, we don't need, you know what? Just make a new one. Let's see if this works. I wrote this the way you would write SQL code, so I don't know even if that'll. Okay, so if this were SQL Server, this would work. But it looks like they want you to use parentheses, so I have no choice. You have to do it sequentially. Oh, that really sucks. Great. You know what? Yeah, that's not cool. I see what they want me to do, and I don't like it. One thing with access that's really not cool. I think we need. Shoot. Okay, I've messed this up. I've messed this up because I assumed it was going to work with regular old traditional SQL code. Like this is fine in a SQL server, but this is not fine in Microsoft Access. They want you to actually like put all the little parentheses, which is really aggravating. Yeah, see, oh, you're missing operators. Not missing operators. So they want me to do like this and then join it again. And go like this and join it again. I'm going to just do that like every single time. Just see if that works. Okay, let's try. Where did I go wrong here?
This is a really complicated query.
Yeah, maybe I should have started with something easier. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do. Yeah, I'll start with something easier. We will do something easy. Ugh, that sucks. I still need parentheses though, unfortunately. I think it's just a little bit easier. I have to go even simpler right now. All right, let's see what they did. Okay, I see. They said that. Join this. And then they wrapped it with something else. I've not done access querying in a while. It's making this harder for me. It's like got a weird non-standard syntax. Ugh, hate it. You got to do the join like this. How weird is that? And then you have to stick this in here. I'm very tempted right now to say, well, let's just do this on SQL Server. Like instead of having you do this through Access.
Well, yeah, this is a really complicated query. Like I was trying to like figure out what you're doing, and I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah,
I would much rather. Yeah, it's just so much neater. And in SQL Server, you don't even need to do all this weird stuff. Okay, you know what? Abandon, cancel. What I'm going to do instead, because we're consuming a lot of time and we're kind of coming up on the time limit. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to explain their query. I'm not even going to rewrite it. I'm going to keep this simple. And next time, I'm either going to use just straight up regular SQL query, regular old SQL querying, or I will pre-create all these so that I'll have an easier time just breaking it down. Because, yeah, I'm going to go back to just formatting their query for you. Yeah, because I don't have the patience to like figure out their syntax right now. Okay. Okay, now I'm ready to explain to you what they're doing or how the code that the computer wrote. So do you remember, and I'm going to save this query right quick. What did we call, what was the question we were answering on this sample query that I created? Male, teachers, specialties? I think that's what I was asking.
oh, specialty, first name, last name.
Okay, I'm just going to call it male teacher specialties. So basically, as you go along and you go to your professor's farm and you make a bunch more teachers and whatever, you make all your teachers, you can always come back here to answer the question, what are the specialties of your male teachers? And then it'll just keep updating itself. So you kind of get how that query works?
No, because we didn't we didn't explain it really.
No, I did. This was this. This was this whole thing.
Oh yeah. That one. I thought you were
Male
talking about the
teachers
other
and
one.
their specialties.
Yeah.
We went over that. Yeah, I was just making sure you still remember like what this question is and what happens when we open it. Now, what I didn't break down is this other one, which says what professor has what student, right? This one. Remember this one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to break that one down for you right now. And I'm going to break it down quickly because, again, time is short. So, and then I'm going to give you, and hopefully, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to do some of the queries as your homework. So I'm going to give, you're going to write some queries yourself. Not with the wizard, but by hand like this. And there'll be simple ones because, again, I know this is like your first time seeing these, but this looks really complicated. It's really not that bad. Before I explain it, what can you tell about this? You remember what we called this, so maybe you can already tell me, what's going on with this. So I'm gonna just bring this down a little bit so you can see that while you're looking at the stuff we've already done and like the name of the.
Well, the wizard makes it pretty easy to see
Okay.
what's going on.
Okay. So explain to me what is going on in this query.
Oh, well, I thought this was the other query.
No. So no. So ignore that top one. We're looking at the one that we created a long time ago with the wizard. We're looking at the actual code. Just tell me what you think is happening.
Okay, I'll try. Give me a minute to think.
Oh, think out loud. I want to see your thought process so I can help you.
Okay. Well, the query wizard makes it easier to see what's going on. But I guess for a complicated query like this, it's a bit tougher to see. But based on the bottom of the query wizard down here, where the check marks are on the fields, we pretty much got first name of and last name of professors. We also have the class name from table classes, and we have the first and last name of students.
Yes.
And it wants us to show all of those, which is basically what the whole question or query was in the first place. And here comes the hard part that I don't understand, but I'll try. So it looks like, let's start from the.
Well, I mean, you've given me enough information. I'll take over from here.
Wait, hold on. I want to try though.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
One.
Sure.
I'm trying to think whether I should explain it from right to left, or left to right.
Either, doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so it looks like far right we have for every one student we have from table students, there could be multiple in the classes and students bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for the classes. For every one class we have, a lot of students could have that one class.
Yes. That's called a one-to-many relationship.
Yeah. And then same thing is happening over here. Well, for every one class you have, it's connected to the bridge classes professors table, or on the bridge, the classes professors bridge. For every one class you have, you could have many professors, because multiple professors can teach multiple different classes. Same thing over here. For every one professor you have, because you see the pattern that's going on here from for the each table, it's like one to many because it's a bridge, so that part's easy to see.
You just made me realize something. This actually should be a one-to-one.
Really?
We never specified, but this should be a one-to-one.
Oh yeah, I see why.
Right? Because why would you have more than one professor, or why would you have the class show up in here more than once?
Wait. Oh yeah, because okay, I see what you're saying.
Right, because if you have the class in here more than once, it means you've matched them to more than one professor.
You can't do that. Like one professor can't teach the same exact class at the same exact time in the same exact room.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. So this actually should be a one-to-one, and I'm actually enforcing that already, because if you go to bridge class professors over here, you'll see that I put a constraint on the class ID. and I said, there's no duplicates. You cannot have it in here more than once. So I already kind of like had a way of like restricting that from happening. And you'll notice if you actually try to do it in the form, it's not going to let you. So I kind of restricted that. It's just you can't see it, but this is actually a one-to-one relationship. In fact, I'm going to change that right now. This should actually be edit relationship. And instead of saying, where is it? Oh yeah, it already says it, one-to-one. Huh, that's weird. It already says it's a one-to-one relationship. Okay, I don't know why it isn't.
Wait.
It's weird that it has an infinity symbol.
I see.
It's definitely one-to-one. Like this one is one-to-many. Like that makes sense to me. Why can't I click on this? There we go. Try to click this line. Yep, see, one-to-many. That makes sense. This is also one-to-many. One-to-many. But this one, can't click the line. It's too small. This one is a one-to-one. See that?
Yeah.
Because you can only have the class show up in here once. You can't match it to multiple professors. Okay, cool. So this little icon is wrong. It's actually not one-to-many. I don't know why that icon is showing an infinity, but it's definitely one-to-one. So I'm just going to close that. All right. So I'm just going to break down what's happening in this complicated query. It looks so complicated, it's really not. So remember I said you have to put the table name and then the field?
Yeah.
This is why. You can have first name in multiple different tables. Students can have first name and professors can have first name. You see that?
Yeah.
That's why I put the table on the front. Because if I just say first name, how's it going to know which table to get the first name from?
Yeah, of course.
So here, the reason I didn't do it is because there's only one place where we can get first name from, professors. But once you start joining a bunch of tables together, and what I mean by join is you see how they're all linked? Once you start linking all over the place in the database, you'll notice there's first name here in the student table and first name here in the professor table. So you can't just say first name. You have to also say where it's coming from. So that's why I told you, if I were you, even though you don't always have to do it, you should always do it, just for clarity. Where is this information coming from? Plus, let's say someone is coming along and they see your code, right? They may not know what is inside this table. So it's best for you to tell them where you're getting it from.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can, like, for example, you don't need to put table classes here. Why? Because class name only shows up once. In all these tables, class name only shows up once. So first name shows up twice, so you need to specify for first name, but class name only shows up once. You don't need to put it.
I would still put it just for practice.
Yeah, not just for practice, because yeah, it's easier to read this way, but because how do we know what table this is in? Let's say we don't have this wizard and we can't see all this and all we can see is the code. How do we know which of these tables class name came from?
I mean, there's no way to tell. It could be anything.
Exactly. It could have been in the professor's table. It could have been in the bridge table. Who knows where it was? So that's why I say always put the table name on the front. Okay. So we kind of got really sidetracked when I was like trying a different syntax. So unfortunately, I kind of used up a lot of our time. So I'm just going to explain how this works really quick, like what all these little parts are. And then I'm going to assign you the homework. All right.
Okay.
And I know this is going to be tough because, again, we didn't get as much time to review this stuff as I hoped. But since we already talked about this on the weekend a little bit, I was kind of off record, but we already talked about it a little bit. I think you should be able to figure out how to write some basic queries. Your first code.
Yeah, probably basic, but something like this that has like inner join 4 times.
You're not going to have any inner joins. You're not going to have any inner joins. And I'm also going to show you one more thing. So I'm going to explain this real fast, and I'm going to give you one more query. It's going to be a count query. And I'm going to assign you some questions that you're going to answer by querying the database. And the way you're going to give them to me, the way you're going to turn it in, is you're going to save them as queries over here. You see how I save them? You're going to save me answers to all my questions. And you're just going to call it like query 1, query 2, query 3, and whatever. And then you just tell me, you know, You'll see, it'll be clear. All right, so for this one, all you're saying is I want the first name from professors, last name from professors, class name from classes, first name from students, and last name from students. And the reason why you have to join all this together is, I don't know if you remember, we wanted to know which students were joined with which professors. Meaning, if I want to pluck this student, so if we look at what this query produces, I want to be able to like sort the students and see all the professors they have. See that? See how Aaron Fidel over here, you can see all his professors?
Yeah.
And you can even see all his classes. So because we kind of linked all this information together, anything we want to know about a student in relation to the professor or in relation to the classes will show up. So we can also organize by class name. See that? And then it's all the professors and students for that class. So you can either look at it from professors, students, or classes and kind of just get how they're all tied together. I don't know if I'm phrasing that well, but can you kind of see what's happening here?
Sorry. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying, but I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I have an idea of what the join does. Like you kind of explained it a little bit about how, like, it pretty much adds those other.
It connects the data together like a spider web.
Okay, so that's my question. So you already have like select all of these other tables, but it shows up again in the inner join. It's like, so what are you exactly joining? Like, what's going on there?
Oh, okay. I'm glad you asked. Okay, so the inner join, what the join means is from. All of these, when you're joining, are all part of the from clause. So actually, you can only write from one time. Just like select, you can only write select one time, and then you just put all your stuff, comma, all your stuff, comma, all your stuff, comma. And then when you say where you're getting it from, you say all your stuff, join, all your stuff, join, all your stuff, join. So this is just like kind of like the commas up here. It's just how you separate the.
It's kind of like saying from table students and from table professors and from.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Absolutely. Perfect description. That's how I should have described it.
I just don't know the syntaxes for it yet.
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, why would you know the syntax? You're brand new to this, but very, very good observation. That's exactly what you're doing. You're saying, I want it from this, this, and this. So you're not just getting information from this one place, you're getting it from a bunch of places. And why do we need to get it from a bunch of places? Because if you just look at the student table, well, you're not going to know anything about what classes they're in. You're not going to know anything about the professors. So we're basically connecting all this together so that we can like know about all these things at the same time. And you can start at any point. So if you remember when you said, oh, I don't know if I should explain it from this side or this side. Well, you could explain it from this side, or you could explain it from this side, or you can even explain it from right here. You can start with classes. And you can say, and if we look at the data, you can organize it by the class. See, I've organized it by the class. And you can tell me things like who's teaching it and who's in it. Or you can organize it by the student and tell me what classes they have and what teachers they have. Aaron is in two of Theon's classes. He's in one of Frank's classes and one of Ryan's classes. Allie over here is in these classes, and those are her teachers. So, or you can go by professor and say, hey, look, Colette has all of these students and all of these classes. And so what we've done by joining all this data together is we're allowed to start at any of these points and get information about how they relate to the other data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is that kind of clear?
Yeah.
You have to join them together. If you don't join them together, then you can't relate them.
Okay, I would have to see that in action.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying don't worry about joins yet. That's kind of a more advanced thing. The homework I'm going to assign you is going to be very simple selects. All it's going to have is a select, a from, and a where clause. You don't need to worry about joins. And there's other little hints too. You're also going to have to deal with group by, which is another kind of another piece of the query. But again, you're not going to have to deal with that right now. You're just dealing with the very basics of querying. So the last thing I'm going to tell you is count. count is very easy. And I think I've already mentioned this to you before, but all the count does is it's exactly what it sounds like. You're counting something. So if I say, I want to know how many students there are, then I'm going to create a query, and we're not using the wizard. We're now teaching code. So I'm going to say select count star from table students. And what do you think that's going to give me?
Let me think. So select count. So count all the students.
Correct. So I'm going to hit view, and there are 100 students. That's how many students you made. I can also do this with professors. I can say professors. I think that's going to do. What is that number?
You typed it in so fast. I didn't see
sorry.
what you typed.
It's right here. It's right here.
Oh, so, count how many professors there are.
Correct. So now what if I do this? What do you think? What number do you think this is going to return, and why?
It's going to give you. So it's asking you, or you're asking the database to count all the professors that are male.
Correct.
So it's going to give you all of the male professors.
Correct. Now we did this earlier manually just by using this. But the reason we're teaching you to do it in code is because you don't want to open the tables. You want to be able to answer things with code. And once you learn how to answer things with code, you can do some very interesting things. So those interesting things, we haven't got to that yet. We will get to that later. But right now, you just need to know how to answer questions without opening the table and just getting it through the code.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit view, and there are 12. There are 12 professors that are male. And you know this is true because earlier today, when we were looking at the table, we counted them. Okay, so that's count. That's all I have for today. This lesson kind of veered off track, but that's okay. I think there's still some good lessons and some good information to be had. So I'm gonna email you, I guess, this file so you can have this just as notes. We didn't get to part 2. I didn't think we were gonna get to part 2. In fact, even next time we're not gonna get to part 2. Next time we will do basic joins. That's what we'll do next time. Because I think it's important to understand what's happening here.
Should we do syntax before joins?
Oh, we did syntax today. You learned about the syntax of select, from, and where.
Yeah, that's true. I was talking about the parentheses, though. Seems to be a lot of them in this query.
Yes. And that's what you're going to learn with joins. It's going to be the syntax of how to put these together. And to be perfectly honest, I'm going to have to, before the next time we meet, I'm going to have to read up on this because I actually don't code SQL in Access anymore, and they use a slightly different format. I do it in SQL Server. If you look down here, I have SQL Server Management Studio because that's what I use. That's my everyday job. That's what I'm in. This is weird to me. This is not how we do it, but this is how Access does it. So I'm gonna have to like brush up on that so I can make sure to show you how it's done. I mean, I did this for a few years, but like, you know, I'm obviously rusty. So yeah, so for homework, I'm gonna have you answer a few questions. And what I want you to do is write up a query. And you're gonna write up the query and you're gonna save it. So you're gonna go create, design, and you're going to close this out because we're not using wizards, and go to SQL. You're going to write up the query, and then you're going to go to, so I'm just going to make up a query right now, blah, 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 select 0, view. And you're going to hit, or you can hit run or view. But you're going to do it. Oops, you're going to do it. And then you're going to make sure it shows what it's supposed to show, the answer to the question that I'm asking. And then you're going to hit this save button up here. And it's going to ask you, what do you want to name that query? And you're going to name it query 1 because that's going to be your first homework question is query 1. Here, I got to delete this actually because I already made a query 1, but you're going to save it as query 1, your query. And delete this now. Delete. Your query 1 is going to be count all students that, let me see here. What information can I have? Yeah, count all female students. That's going to be your first query. And so that's all I want you to return. When I double click your query, it should just give me the number of female students. You understand how that works?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Query
I'm
two.
sorry. I was a little lost. Sorry.
You want me to repeat that?
Yes.
Okay. So query one, you're going to, did you see the part where I went to create and then design? And then let's get rid of that and go to SQL. You're going to write up a query to answer that question. And then when you hit run, and it's not going to work, there's nothing in here. Okay, now there's something in here. When you hit run, it needs to answer my question that I gave you.
Yeah.
And then I should see the answer to the question. And then you save that with the save button, and you name it query one.
Okay. But just for the homework you're talking about?
Yeah, this is homework, yes.
Shouldn't I name the queries like, you know, what the question actually is?
Nope, you're going to name it HW1, actually, not query one. And for HW2, we're going to do another query. You're going to say, give me the name and salary of all professors. Okay. Easy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what we didn't do? There's another, there's so many things. Okay, so basic joins, basic groups. Before we even do joins, we're going to do groups. We may not even get to joins next time. We're going to do basic groups, basic order, and basic joins. That's what we'll do next time. All right, HW3. This homework's very easy, by the way. So I want it done by Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, do it by Friday. It's very, very easy. Okay. So give me the class, every class name and class ID that is math based. You're going to have trouble with that one, but I want you to figure that out on your own. I think you'll be able to figure it out. But that one's going to be probably the trickiest one because you don't know a lot about filtering yet. But I think you can figure it out. All right, and that's it. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to send the recording to you and send the homework just like text document to you so you have some notes.